Hey, it's Leslie. I hope everything's going great. Things are going pretty good with me. As far as weight, I had a little bit of a disappointment this week. Like I said last week, I had a feeling that a lot of the loss was because I had just gone and given blood. So I'm guessing that was probably true. And also, I'll explain the other reason why that didn't go so well. I find the weeks that I feel like I lost the most and I'm like really excited. I'm super pumped to weigh myself and be like, okay, how did I do this week? Those seem to be the weeks that the scale shows the worst, and that's really frustrating and kind of discouraging because it could be a week where I turn down a lot of temptation, I resist a lot of temptation, and then it feels like it wasn't worth it. Mentally, I do know if I hadn't, I would have gained more, but I mean, weight can go up and down for so many different reasons, whether for female, if it's that time of month, or you might just be bloated that day. You know, there's so many variables, and it's really hard to not get hung up on a number. So this week, I want to talk about struggles and challenges, mostly about resisting temptation. Way that I found best to cope is to be stubborn and to be prepared. For example, when I go to a movie theater now, I don't want to get popcorn. So what I do is I make sure that I always eat right before going. That way I'm not hungry, and even though I'm going to smell it, it's not as bad. And also just the stubbornness of making up my mind and be like, no, I'm not going to do it. It's not as tempting as like if you start to kind of give yourself permission, you're like, maybe, well, I'll see how I feel. Then I think you're a lot more likely to give in to temptation. But if you set your mind to the fact that, like, no, I'm going to resist, I can do this, then it'll be a lot easier. Another example is going to a grocery store. My advice, never ever go grocery shopping if you're hungry. They're packed with temptation, especially at the front. You're bombarded with chocolate. I mean, think about it. Halloween candy, Christmas boxes of chocolates, Valentine's Day, then you got Easter. I never realized how much temptation there was until I, was trying to change my meal plan. And then I would go to the store and I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. And at first I was almost like in a panic mode, but then I learned to deal with it and would almost play a game where I would kind of walk by it and I would make a point of looking at it and be like, do I want that? No, you know what? I really don't. Because it made me make a conscious choice that I didn't want that wasn't worth it. I wanted to be healthy, and if that was going to sacrifice that, then I didn't want it. So that's where kind of the stubbornness kicked in. A third thing that I find is a big temptation is at work. People like to bring food. We tend to love each other with food. Like this is just family, friends, whatever. But at work, you want to do something nice. You bring in, you maybe made something, you made a cake, you bring it in and share with people. That's normal. But it can be a hard thing to resist. Or also if there's like a lunch day. We had a cake day once a month, and I would, which was particularly hard when I was on the social committee and actually had to be the one cutting up the pieces of cake. So I would be right in front of it, and yeah, that was an experience, I guess. Also, we have like big potlucks. I did participate in one because I was taking a break and like from my meal plan just to give myself a little reward and time to enjoy some food. But I resist. I think I avoided at least three potlucks, and it was hard. The first time I actually booked off the morning because I also knew that the potluck table was going to be basically set up right beside my cubicle, like my desk, and I kind of didn't want to see the food, smell the food, and this was literally like I think the first week that I started my meal plan. It helped, but I've come to realize that I think avoiding it almost makes it worse. And I was reminded of this again I think 3 weeks ago. They had a pizza day, and I had decided I wasn't going to do it. I had actually made a point about half an hour before it was supposed to arrive. I went in the lunchroom and I got my lunch bag and brought it to my desk. That way, I don't have to go in the lunchroom, and at least if I don't have to see it, then it'll be better, And then I actually called my boyfriend because I was having a hard time, and I called him to give me a pep talk, basically, because I was going to be surrounded by like 150 people indulging in pizza, and it's hard, when you're like the only one. There's always going to be temptation. You can't hide from it forever. So at that point, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to put my lunch bag back in the fridge. And when it's there, when it's time to get my lunch, I will go in there and I will get my lunch. I can look at the people having their pizza, and you know what? I'll be fine. And I remind myself that, you know what? You've done this before. I find the more you resist, the stronger you become. It's a lot harder in the beginning. As you go, you build up a confidence and a self-assurance because you know that you can do it. You can say no because you have said no in the past. And the one potluck that I did participate in, honestly, it wasn't even worth it. I tried a couple good things, but in the end, when it comes to potlucks, it gives you a stomachache anyway. So that's kind of a good reminder too when you do kind of give in and it's not even satisfying. It kind of discourages you from doing it again.